All right, everyone, we are on our fourth video of Module 19. So this is Module 19.4, and we're going to talk about about our perpendicular bisectors and the converse of that theorem. So the first thing we need to know is that if a point, like point C, lies on the perpendicular bisector of a segment, that just means it intersects at 90 degrees and it cuts it perfectly in half. So if that line contains a point like point C, then we know that this distance right here has to be the same as this distance right here. It just really means like if we create this triangle, these two sides are congruent, okay? So in this picture, that would mean that the side AC is congruent to the side BC, okay? The converse of that is if we know those distances are the same, then we know C must lie on the perpendicular bisector. So we can conclude, so if AC is congruent to BC, right? And we know that CD is going to be perpendicular to AB. So CD is perpendicular to AB. Then we know that AD must be congruent to BD. Okay, so all we're going to use in all of these problems is just the fact that we know these segments right here are congruent and these sides of the triangle are congruent to each other. Okay, so the first one we're just solving for x, and we know using what's labeled in this picture that these two sides are congruent. So I'm going to set those equal to each other. 7x plus 24 equals 13x minus 48. All right, and then we're just solving for x. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides, 7x. So 24 equals 13 minus 7x is going to be 6x. All right. Then I'm going to add my 48 to both sides of the equation. So I've got 24 plus 48 is going to be 72. And then if I divide by 6, I get that my x value is 12. That's all it was asking for, so I'm just going to stop there. All right, the next one, again, solving for x. This time we're talking about the two parts of this segment down here. We know they are the same length because this perpendicular bisector right here and these two side lengths that are congruent. So again, setting these equal to each other, 9x plus 13. Solving for x, so I've got to subtract 9x from both sides. Okay, so that's going to be 8x. And then I'm going to add 3 to both sides of the equation. So now I've got 16. And if I divide both sides by 8, I get that my x value is 2. All right. And then last two I'm going to do with you guys. This time now after you solve for x, you have to find the length RS. So it's kind of a two-step problem. So first, I know these sides of this triangle are congruent. So we're going to set them equal to each other. Okay, isolating x, so we've got 3x on the left side of the equation, and if I add 22 to both sides of the equation, now I have 27, and if I divide both sides by 3, I get x equals 9. Now I'm not done yet, I want to know what RS is. So RS is this length right here. I need to substitute this x value into this expression right here. So RS is going to be 4 times x, we know x is 9, plus 5. Okay, so if I do 4 times 9, that's going to give me 36. And then if I add 5, that's going to give me 41. So this is my answer right here. All right, and then last one I'll do with you guys right here. Again, we knew these two parts of this segment or this side of the triangle are congruent. It's cut in half. So we'll set them equal to each other. 14x minus 37. We're going to solve for x here. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So now I've got 12x minus 37. Okay, then if I add 37 to both sides of the equation, I've got 48 here on the left, 12x on the right side of the equation. And then if I divide both sides by 12, my x value is 4. Now again, I'm not done. I want EG. So EG is this length right here. e.g., that's 2 times x plus 11. So 2 times 4 plus 11. Well, 2 times 4 is 8, and then if I add 11, that gives me 19. All right, now is a great time to pause the video if you haven't done the next two, and then I will move on to show you the solutions. Okay, here are your solutions for the next two. Again, you had to solve for x first, then use those values, substitute them in, and find what the problem was asking you for. Okay, moving on to the back side. Got some already worked out for you. Okay, so on here, let me just zoom in a little bit. We're going to use these same skills we've already been doing, but now we're going to try some different pictures. So here we have what's called a kite, but we've got some information that it's given to us. So it says RT bisects, that should be bisects SU. So RT bisects SU, that means I know these are congruent. And if those are congruent, I also know these are congruent. And same thing with the other side, like this triangle. So now I know a bunch of congruent sides. Let's try to fill those in. ST is going to be the same as UT, so it's 23. RU is going to be the same as RS, so that's 8. SV is right here, that's the same as UV, that's 5. And SU is just the entire distance, so it's double, or 10. Okay. Next one, we are solving for x. This one's pretty simple. We're just setting these equal to each other. So 24x minus 19 equals 16x plus 13. Let's get x on one side of the equation and our numbers on the other. So if I do 24x minus 16x, that's going to be 8x on the left side of the equation. And then if I add 19 to 13, well, that's going to give me 32. Okay, then we divide both sides by 8. X is going to give me 4. Let me just circle that for our answer. Okay, next one, again, solving for x, same as before. These kind of get repetitive after a while. Once you get the hang of it, they become really easy. Okay, again, solving for x. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides of the equation. So now I've got 3x equals, and I'm going to add 37 to both sides of the equation. So if I do 37 plus 17, that's going to give me 54. And then I have to divide both sides by 3, so x is 18. And that's all it asked for. All right, last one I will do with you on this section. It's going to ask for mn. So this is a two-step. We've got to find x first and then plug it in. So first, to find x, we're going to set these two equal to each other. And that's a plus equals 6x minus 7. This time I'm going to bring my x's to the right side, so I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. And then I'm going to add 7. So that's going to give me 26 equals 2x. And then if I divide both sides by 2, x is going to be 13. But I want mn, that's this length right here. So mn is going to be equal to 4 times whatever our x value is, plus 19. So if I do 4 times 13, that's going to give me 52. And then if I add 19, that'll give me 71. That is our final answer. That's what mn is. All right, again, pause your video if you haven't done the next two so that we can move on and I can show you these solutions. Okay, so moving on now to 5 and 6. Your answers should be 48 and then 68. So I'll just give you a second to review those. And then last problem has a bit of work to do, but it's nothing different than what we've been doing on this worksheet. So let's get started. The first thing I have written are 2 equations, and I'll show you where I got them from. I'm going to kind of separate my work out. This equation comes from saying that this side is congruent to this side. That was already given to us. And then this equation comes from saying that this side is the same as this side. Okay? So what I want to do here is solve for x and y, and then we're going to use those values to find all of these lengths. So let's find x and y first. All right, over on the left side, if I subtract 4x from both sides of the equation and add 17, so on the left side, I'll have 4 plus 17, that's 21. And then on the right side, 3x. If I divide both sides by 3, x is 7. So I'm going to write my answer over there. And then if I want y, I could subtract 2y. I've got 3y. And then on the right side, if I do 31 plus 5, that's 36. Okay, so then if I divide both sides by 3, I get x equals 12. So I've already got those two answers. Now all I have to do is find each one of these lengths right here, and then I know this one's going to be the same as this one, and I know this one's going to be the same as this one. All right, so let's start with PQ. So PQ is going to be 5y minus 31, but I know what y is. Okay, so if I do 5 times 12, that's 60, and then if I subtract 31, it's going to be 29. So PQ is 29. And I also know that QR is 29. Those are the same length. All right, next one, PS. That's this one down here. That's my x value. So PS is 4 times x. Careful, our x value is 7, not 12, plus 4. So if I do 4 times 7, that's 28. And then if I add 4, that's going to give me 32. Okay. We also know that SR is the same length, so also 32. All right, last one, and this one has X and Y in it, and that's PT right here. So we're going to do 6 times the X value minus 2 times the Y value, and that's going to give us our last length that we need, right? So 6 times 7 is going to give me 42, and then if I subtract 24, that's going to give me 18. So that's this last length right here. And then PR is just double that length. So if I double 18, then that gives me 36. So there are all your lengths right there. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. There should be one more video after this covering module 19.5. See you later, guys.